What's up, Banter fam? Welcome back to the show. We're coming at you with a special weekend live stream. We don't normally stream on weekends, but the market is absolutely exploding right now. And it looks like April 2022 could be an extremely bullish month for crypto. I'm joined by Kyle. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
What's up, guys? Hope everyone's well. Let's do this.
We're going to be charting some of the best altcoin picks for April. And I'm also going to be going through the market and some of the narratives that I think could potentially explode this month. It's going to be an absolutely massive show. Make sure you smash the like button for these picks, guys. Absolutely explode the likes. We don't usually stream on a Saturday, so we need those likes exploded to let people know that we are streaming today, so people can come in and watch this content, because honestly, I think this is some of the most alpha I'll ever drop on a show. I've got some crazy things planned, some crazy stats to show you guys. Let's just get straight into it because there's so much to go through today. The markets are exploding. Look at this. The altcoins are absolutely exploding. Some of these alts are up plus 10% for the day. We have Solana up 10.5%. We have DOT up 10%. AVAX 10%. I mean, list after list of altcoins just exploding. Near Protocol 16.4% as well. One of our favorite projects, also Fantom, is also exploding as well, 6.7%. And earlier in the day, some of these coins were up even more, but obviously CoinGecko tracks on the 24-hourly chart. So guys, the market is exploding, but let's go into some of the TA to work out where we are sitting with Bitcoin. Carl, take it away with the Bitcoin chart because Bitcoin has broken out.
Yeah, great. Are you able to share my screen? Thank you so much. All right, let's start a little bit more on a macro scale just to get a little bit of perspective, of where we're at in the market. Let me have a look for this chart. So I love to always start off with this one just to kind of gauge where we're at. So previously on other shows, we've mentioned that this 21 EMA was very important on a weekly time frame in order to determine whether we're in a bull or bear market. We like it when we're above that moving average and we have it angled upwards. As you can see, we cleared that critical area of resistance. We sold off to retest it. So we closed the previous week way above it, started to turn that moving average up, and we came back down. We literally wicked into it. And so far we have a doji candle. Of course, we've got another 1 day and an hour left before this candle closes. So I'd love to see this close green. If it can close at the top there, that will be phenomenal. Let's go into some of these other charts. So this is one that I'm watching closely. Again, you've got the same sort of picture over here. Is that big enough? Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it. It's good.
All right. So these were the key quarterly levels. There was a real cluster over here, which we got above. I have the Bollinger Band set as well, and they'll start to tighten in over here. So what we want is essentially we'd like for this to turn up as well. So having the Bollinger Bands almost acting like the moving averages. And as long as we hold this key quarterly area, we should be off to the races. If I put the MACD on, we've just crossed bullish on the weekly. So you can expect historically when you have a look at this, it's going to hold for anywhere around 15 weeks or so. So you can be looking at about 3 months of potential bullish momentum on the charts over there. Let's see if we can move on to this one again. So looking at this is something that I used to with 3 different moving averages. It's the 3, the 9, and the 30 on the 4-day chart, and this will keep you in trends for weeks to months. So currently you should almost be 100% entered into the market according to this charting system. We broke the parallel channel over here. We have price above all the moving averages, and we're about to get across over here with the 9 and the 30 MA. We want that 30 MA.
Some interesting statistics as well. Sorry to cut you off, because a big factor right now is actually what's happening on-chain with these on-chain metrics, because the Bitcoin user growth compared to supply they're actually working against each other. So what is happening is the Bitcoin user growth is increasing, over 30 million users on the network, whilst the supply is obviously constantly decreasing as we get halvings every 4 years. So we're seeing the on-chain metrics looking extremely bullish. Will Clemente said, this is what programmable scarcity looks like. And I think it's one of the reasons why we've seen this continuous trend upwards from Bitcoin and altcoins, because just the supply and demand is at that critical intersection right now. And it keeps getting progressively better and better for Bitcoin and altcoin holders alike. So that's a really positive sign. Just guys, today I'm going to be giving you some amazing alt picks for April 2022. So make sure you do stick around to the end of the video, because we'll be going through some narratives which I think could be really strong this month. And we do have Kyle here as well to show you how to get those perfect entries. So this isn't a show you want to miss. But yeah, Kyle, that's really telling that we did get this massive breakout.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. It's a great thing. So the breakout essentially stemmed from the ascending triangle. So ascending triangles, you can actually create a measured move by taking the top to the bottom of the triangle. In this instance, your measured moves takes you to about $55,000 to $56,000 level. Now, there are some important considerations over here. So we've got two things going on. At first look, if you have a look at the MAs, so the different moving averages, we have the 200 moving average, which is this white line. It's been trending down. It's starting to flatten and curve up. Not only that, but on a weekly chart, if I were to switch this like this to a weekly chart, you'll notice that this is going to be a key area to clear, which actually matches up. So it's coming up at $52,000, and that matches up as well with your MA as well. So there's an important zone here which needs to be cleared. However, I believe the momentum seems to be picking up. If we move on to have a look over here, if we move on to our different volatility indicators, you can see that volatility is also declining. I believe this is just simply a reset. So the little pullback that we had might just have finished. And if you draw a trend line.
And after the Euro news came out, we had that really red candle. And then all of a sudden, like a day later, there was a lot of panic, obviously, about the regulations. And a day later, like the market simply doesn't care. So the strength of this market to be able to shrug off massive regulatory news like that is a massive indicator to me that we're sitting in a very strong position fundamentally. Not something Bitcoin would have been able to do a couple months ago. So we are seeing that strength as well.
Exactly. So if you can draw a trend line over here, you can have a look at the RSI stochastic. This is why I believe that the momentum should shift again. This has just simply been a pause in the market, and I would certainly be looking for the market to pick up again. Once you clear this level, that would be your new level to clear. Let me just zoom in for you over there. As long as we clear this level, we're going to push straight up to the next zone, which is going to be 52, and after that, we can target 55. I would definitely caution the audience to have your invalidation areas. Your invalidation area on Bitcoin at the moment is going to be at 45,000. As long as we can hold this level, this is what you want to see as well, by the way, is we wick down into this area, which I posted on my Twitter as a potential buy zone. And leaving a wick behind is a very strong sign of strength in the market, and a sign that the bulls are stepping up to defend that area.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you know what the scary thing is, Carl? Retail still isn't in the market yet. I mean, we're seeing this strength. And where is the retail? Because if we look at the moment, the YouTube views, the Google trends, the social data, so the Lunar Crush data, the meme coins, they aren't really pumping yet. All these indicators that we get of retail interest in crypto, it's not here yet. So we're seeing this Bitcoin strength. We've seen this rally up, as you just showed us, from 37K up to 46K, and we're looking to push beyond that at the moment. And that's without retail in the market. So, I mean, all of those metrics are down. If we look at the first time Bitcoin hit 46K in 2021, all these metrics are down against 2021. So what that indicates to me is that a lot of these buys are being driven by institutional buyers. So we're now seeing a market where the institutions are moving the price, and we're not relying on this kind of meme coin retail mania to drive the price forward. So that is the most bullish thing for me, I think, at the moment, that retail isn't in the market, yet we're still pumping. I mean, what happens when retail enters? I mean,
exactly. So what typically happens is you have, of course, the supply side is extremely strong at the moment. The on-chains are showing that there's a complete lack of supply. It's difficult to get coins at the moment, but the demand side is what we really need, and that is when the retail come in. And if you have a look at the charts, I'm pretty sure that once you clear this level over here, momentum will start picking up very quickly. When you break that $52,000 level, that's when I would expect that retail will really start to FOMO in, and then it's pretty much straight to all-time highs. It should happen pretty quickly, I'd imagine.
I think the dominance is something we have to look at now. Let's get up the dominance, because dominance has been, I mean, it broke a long-term trend and it's really looking bad. The dominance is looking terrible, which is obviously great for altcoins because it suggests that alts are in favor right now in this market. I mean, look at this complete collapse in the dominance. Could this potentially go even further and set off a crazy alt run?
Absolutely. This is a real possibility. So having a look at the weekly dominance, I mapped out the most important key levels. As you can see, we're currently coming right onto support, but the difference is we have the same lows. So we've met this region 1, 2, 3. This will be the 4th time over here. And it's almost like if you knock on something a couple of times, eventually you're going to break through. On top of that, you have almost somewhat of if I just put it like that, you have a bit of a descending triangle, which is the same thing that we had on Bitcoin when it broke out to the upside. And with this, you can create a measured move. So the measured move could potentially bring Bitcoin down to 27.8%, call it 28%. So you can imagine if Bitcoin dominance drops below 30%, what's going to happen to the altcoins. However, there is a possibility, although these descending triangles have about a 70% probability of breaking down, they can also break up. So this is something that you have to watch out for. However, there's a lot more resistance. You've got the moving averages. You've got the key weekly level as well before it can complete that pattern. And then once that's cleared, it's going to meet 2 more important moving averages. And I would expect it then to continue back down.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it could really go either way, but right now it is looking in favor of breaking down. Obviously, the probability is that we can break down with all this resistance, moving averages. You've got that trend as well that Bitcoin dominance would need to break to move upwards. So obviously, it does look like it could be breaking down, but the fear and greed isn't actually too startling at the moment. It's 52, so it's sitting in the middle. And I've had a lot of people ask me, like, could this potentially be a top? Is this a dead cat bounce? And this is one of the indicators that's showing me that it probably isn't, because usually when we get tops, we see this extreme greed come in. The extreme greed usually kicks in around 80 or 90, and that's when retail starts entering, and we get a really frothy toppy market. Right now with this fear and greed at 52, it's indicating to me that we're probably a long ways off a top in terms of like a permanent top, because the fear and greed usually tops out around 80, guys. So having it at 52 and getting a pump simultaneously is actually a good indicator, in my opinion.
Yeah, Miles. So if you could just share my screen again, I'll say something that's in agreement with that. So it's looking like we've made it. If you put on the Fibonacci retracement over here, we're right at the 0.382 level, which sometimes can be a bull trappy area. However, from a more macro scale, the area that price tends to go towards is actually that golden zone, which is the 0.618, which is coming in at 55,000. Now, this is definitely the area that I would recommend people be cautious on. So we've still got a long way to go. I mean, on Bitcoin alone, that's going to give you another 18% move, give or take, before we get to that 0.618 level. Imagine for altcoins, that could be 100, 200% up on some of them. So it's definitely worth being in the market at the moment. It's not too late. And again, once we clear that main resistance area over here at 51, this is the area, this is exactly where the bull traps happen. This is where the retail will come into the market, is literally right in the zone over here.
All right, guys, it's time to degen. I absolutely love your macro analysis, Kyle. It's great. But I just feel like degenning. This market it's pumping at the moment. And we all know, as Kyle just showed, if we do get a 20% push up from Bitcoin, what do you think is going to push harder? I mean, these altcoins could absolutely go on a tear. So let's go through some altcoins that are performing right now. Let's go through some picks potentially for April 2022. I'll be doing the fundamental analysis. Kyle's joining me for some TA, kind of like Ran and Sheldon style, but Miles and Kyle. So it's the new duo on the block. We're going to be giving you some tasty altcoin picks for 2022. Smash that like button if you're excited for these picks, guys, because I think some of these will be very, very successful over the long term. As Kyle said, look, we could pull back in the short term, but we are long-term investors here at Crypto Banter. We're not in this market for a short-term pump. We're in here for the long term, obviously with the exception of taking profits and trading in the meantime. So let's go through some picks right now. And
looks like we're really excited to degen. Even the producers are putting up the screens for degens.
Time to degen. Solana is leading the race when it comes to the altcoins at the moment, up 10.8% for the day. We have seen a massive push up in the SOL price. I think that it bottomed out around $80. So to be pushing back up with this much strength is really, really positive. Obviously, it's been beaten down quite a lot, so it was only a matter of time before SOL broke out. And we've been saying this for a couple months now that SOL, it's gonna run at some point. We saw the Luna run, but SOL was lagging behind. And a lot of this pump is actually on the back of this OpenSea integration. So what they're doing is they're integrating these Solana NFTs onto OpenSea. So OpenSea users will be able to buy our Solana NFTs on OpenSea. We've seen some massive transactions from whales over the last month. ETH whales actually swapping their Ethereum for Solana. So we are seeing a very strong narrative. We know Solana is one of the fastest blockchains in crypto. We know it's one of the best blockchains in terms of its backers. It has some very, very strong backers. But the main thing that's driven the price in the past is obviously its NFT and its gaming ecosystem, which is very strong. So having this OpenSea integration is a very positive sign for Solana holders. Let's chart Solana, Kyle, because I think a lot of people will be wondering, where can we get our entry now as Solana looks to push back up to all-time highs? So let's have a look at where we can get SOL, because it's been exploding.
Great, absolutely. I only just started to have a look at the SOL chart today, so I haven't had enough time to really break it down. But looking at it very quickly, this is what I've seen. Of course, you have a diagonal trend line, which you can draw down there. We did break it on this candle. This is on a weekly chart. You have a couple of key weekly areas. So this was one key weekly level. Here's another one over here. And you'll notice that both of these line up with the fib retracement. So you got the 0.382. This could be an area which we're very close to. If I move it down onto a daily, it will give you a better perspective. This could be an area where SOL pulls back from, and that would ultimately give you your buying opportunity. So not only that, but you have the EMA crosses over here. So going into a golden cross. I mean, guys, this is an absolutely enormous move. So if I have to draw this for you over here, just give me a second.
It's a massive move.
Right.
I mean, look at that. What's that? It's almost doubled in the past month.
Exactly.
It's been exploding, but it was due. I think it was a long time coming for Solana, obviously, after it had that massive sell-off off the back of some issues with its network going down. It has had quite a lot of downtime, but I think they're working to resolve that. I'm seeing some positive changes coming out of Solana in terms of the development.
Long term, this is fantastic, but you've had a move that's from here all the way up. I mean, it's going to hit this resistance over here. I would have a look at what price does. If I was a holder of Solana, I would definitely be taking some profits once we get to this region. So for some perspective, I mean, that's only giving you another 4 or 5% move before you likely hit resistance. Here you got the previous lower high. This is, of course, now a brand new high that you're going to make. I would expect price to pull back most likely into this cluster of moving averages to set your next higher low. This is where I would be absolutely loading up on Solana, would be anywhere around this $120 region. So pay attention to that. If you have a look as well at the momentum oscillators, everything is overextended at the moment. This is on the daily. I mean, you're literally at 100. So this is on the RSI stochastic. Once this crosses down, that would be my confirmation to probably start taking the profits, because it could pull back quite quickly. I don't think the RSI stokes are going to come all the way down for a buying opportunity over here, but just track the momentum and you'll get a great buying opportunity, because I'm definitely bullish over the next few months.
Yeah, same. I mean, long-term Solana is one of the best projects, but you're saying right now, potentially it's run for the time being. Of course, it could break that resistance and explode back up to all-time highs, but the likelihood is that taking profits is probably a good decision as we approach this resistance. But I do want to talk about one thing that hasn't exploded necessarily, and it's kind of tied to Solana as well. Obviously, we've seen Solana pump but this coin hasn't pumped to the full extent that I think it can. And obviously, I'm talking about Arweave because Arweave is one of the most fundamentally sound projects in crypto, and it does have ties to Solana, as Arweave stores a lot of Solana's data. So what Solana does is they obviously have excess data that the blockchain stores. So in order to alleviate pressure so Solana can scale and isn't too congested, they palm off that data to Arweave. And what Arweave does is it stores data permanently. So if you pay once, you get data stored forever. So a lot of NFT projects, gaming projects, and obviously the Solana network itself stores on Arweave. So as the Solana network increases, as more people use Solana, and as there's more NFT and gaming projects on Solana, Arweave also pumps. And we've seen this in the charts, haven't we, Carl? Because Arweave has shown a very strong correlation to Solana, but could it potentially still have room to run here?
I definitely think so. When you have a look at these, Arweave is a bit of a lagging coin in comparison to Solana, and there are definitely some similarities when you take a look at that. It feels to me like it's probably about a week behind. So if I have to, let's have a look specifically at Arweave. If I can just make this bigger, give me 1 second, because Arweave was recently just in the perfect entry zone.
And you got this entry. I was asking you for the entry, and you did a chart for me, and you got it exactly around $36, which was the perfect risk-reward entry at the time.
Exactly. So if we just zoom out a little bit for some perspective. All right. Here you have, let's quickly remove those so it's not too cluttered over here. So you have the descending trend line over here. So finally, we broke that momentum to the downside. Zooming in, you'll see that we started to create higher highs. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the trend is your friend till the end of the trend, right? So we have, looking at this, you have your higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low. And then I was looking for the next higher low in this box, higher high, higher high. This was a bit confusing because it made a next lower high. And then now we've just set in the next higher high. So this box was perfect. It was the break out of that symmetrical triangle, which was also the descending trend line. And we've just cleared the horizontal resistance over here. So I feel like Arweave at the moment is still a fantastic opportunity over the next few weeks. I think this one can really run.
I think it can run. I mean, you just showed that Solana, it kind of lags Sol by a week, and we have seen that in the past where Solana will pump first, and then Arweave kind of follows after. I do have some interesting statistics to show you about Arweave and the fundamentals behind why Arweave is just so strong. So if we look at the Web3 index, this is an index of Web3 protocols. Arweave is actually number 1. So this means it's the most used protocol on Web3, and it's topping protocols like Helium, Akash, the Graph. So Arweave is the number 1 used protocol in Web3. I mean, that's absolutely massive. We know Arweave stores data for Solana, but it also stores data for DOT, and it stores data for other protocols across Ethereum as well. So a lot of people have it synonymous that it stores data only for Solana, but that's not true. Arweave has a high correlation to some of these other blockchains as well. So across DOT, across Ethereum, and we did also see the data absolutely explode. So the amount of projects that are now storing on the Arweave network is really increasing. So it took Arweave 3 years to go from 0 terabytes to 10 terabytes of stored data. So it took 3 years to go from 0 to 10. But over the past 6 months, the amount of data stored on the network has grown by more than 40 terabytes. So in 6 months, it grew 4x what it grew in 3 years. So the network is exponentially growing, guys. And this is network effect. We always say at Crypto Banter that network effect is the main driver of growth, long-term growth in these protocols in crypto. And Arweave is exhibiting this right here, having this 4x in growth to 40 terabytes of storage. That's absolutely massive. And if this can continue to increase and increase at this pace, then I think the network can be very, very strong. And it's by far the biggest. It's obviously got Filecoin as a competitor, but it is the biggest and the only one doing permanent storage. So I think it's a great one. And as you said, the chart doesn't look to have run to its full extent yet. So I think this could still be a very good pick. It's one of my favorite protocols.
Yeah. Let me just have a closer look at the chart on the 4 hour, because this is essentially where I would plan my entries. So what I would usually do is I'd have a look for using the EMAs. I have a look at the 50 and 200 EMA. And what I want to essentially see is a golden cross over there. So you can see that golden cross took place right over here in this zone. Just let me get that. My mouse is messing me around a bit. So here was the golden cross over here. Price moves up, and then the retest of those moving averages could be your first entry point. So at the moment, you're now looking to add to your position. So you would already have some of that entered. Again, we continue on up. You're setting in another higher low. I would expect the next one to come somewhere in this region over here. So anything to the top of that box, which is between, I would say, $37 and about 38, 39, if you want to be stingy with your order, is a great entry point. Easy stop loss underneath that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that could potentially be a very good trade, and long term, it's very sound as well. So if you want to buy spot and hold this long term, I think you're in a good project right there. It's something that I'm planning on holding for a while, but I want to share with you guys a narrative that I think could explode that hasn't necessarily exploded yet. It has been going up, but I think that it has some serious room to run here. And I think it is a massive, massive narrative going forward. Obviously, the ETH Merge is happening in June 2022. I think it's one of the biggest crypto events of the year. This is when the Ethereum consensus layer merges, which means that the Ethereum will now become deflationary. I did a video on that last week if you wish to learn more about that. But obviously, buying ETH is one way to get exposure to this narrative. But I think there's another way to get exposure that could potentially have more upside that isn't being talked about. And this is Lido. So I think Lido could be a great way to play this Ethereum merge narrative. So just to give you a bit of context, Lido Finance is essentially a liquidity staking solution. This means that it allows users to stake certain assets and retain liquidity. So if you go onto the Lido Finance dashboard and click Stake Now, you can stake Ethereum 2.0 already. Now, 10% of the total Ethereum for Ethereum 2.0 is already staked. So we're seeing a large amount of Ethereum staked, but you can stake it in here and retain liquidity of your ETH. So the problem is when you stake in a traditional validator node, you will have to lock up your Ethereum for a certain amount of time. What Lido does is it enables you to retain your Ethereum, because if you stake it, you can get staked Ethereum back in exchange for staking your Ethereum, which means that you still have staked Ethereum, which you can use in DeFi, and you can retain liquidity with that asset. But you also are able to earn the same rewards as you would for locking it up. So Lido is a big, big narrative. And here's why I think it is a big narrative. Because the ETH merge will now increase staking rewards to over 10%. So right now, you can only earn 3.9%. After the merge goes through in June 2022, the staking rewards will significantly increase, which means that you can earn up to 10% plus on your Ethereum, which will highly incentivize users to hold and stake the ETH token more so than today. And what's the best way to hold and stake the ETH token? Well, it's Lido Finance. So this is why my thesis is that Lido could perform very well. It's because Lido will be the go-to place to stake Ethereum 2.0. And it's already taken a significant amount of market share. I think it's the second biggest DeFi protocol right now, which is absolutely massive. So I think that this could be a good play. Over 75% of new ETH deposits are already happening on Lido Finance. So 70% we can see through this graph here of new deposits that are going in to Ethereum 2.0 are already happening on Lido. A new era of DeFi is beginning. And here is kind of my thesis here. Could Lido become to ETH what Grayscale, MicroStrategy, and Terra are to Bitcoin? Could potentially Lido Finance take that position? And if it can, then $22 billion is quite conservative in my opinion. As I mentioned before, only 10% of ETH is actually staked right now. What happens when that number increases to 50, 60%? Where do you think people are going to stake their Ethereum once 2.0 is out? Well, Lido. Lido is the best place to do it at the moment. And this $22 billion TVL could be significantly increasing in the near future. I think 50 billion plus is definitely on the horizon for Lido. So Kyle, Lido does have a token. It's Lido DAO, and this gives you exposure to the rewards. So obviously, the more people that stake on the Lido network, the more that the Lido token is able to generate in revenue, which could mean the Lido price itself could increase. Now, I know it's pumped quite a bit recently, but this narrative, I don't think will really play out for a couple months. So I think we're still ahead of the curve here. I honestly believe that. And how is this Lido chart looking? Because it has pumped, but I think it's got room to run.
Yeah, I've literally just found Lido. This is one of the first times that I've heard about it. So let's quickly chart it together. So this was a previous area that looks a little bit sticky if you have a look at that. So you can just chuck in a horizontal over there. I think horizontals work fantastically on charts like these. If you have a look at the diagonal, I mean, you can tell just by looking with your eye, this area has been already broken. So fantastic. We try to get as many touch points on those trend lines as possible. You've essentially created a higher high for the first time. So clearing this area will be extremely bullish for this project. Let's move it down onto a low time frame. That is currently on a 3-day chart. The moving averages are just starting to cross. You can see it's clearly turned into an uptrend. On a 4 hours, again, where I would look for my entries. So let's move it on to a 4 hour. Very quickly, have a look over here. All right, it's looking great. So you have your, over here, you already have your bullish cross. And on top of that, you would have broken the descending trend line over there. So you start establishing your trend, higher highs, higher highs, higher highs throughout. You got your higher lows as well tracking. It has moved quite a bit. So what I would suggest with something like this is possibly start dollar cost averaging in. As long as you're maintaining this level over here, this is going to be your previous higher low. As long as you're above there, it should be quite a good token to pick up. I would think that possibly it could either reject from there, come back down to form the next higher low, and then on the second attempt, it could break that level. That's what I'd be watching for.
Yeah, so we want to be catching the pullbacks on tokens like this that have run, but I think fundamentally it's very strong. And I just saw a comment before that said it isn't on many markets yet, and I had a look, and that's actually true. It's not on all the markets. So when you're buying token that isn't listed across all the markets, that is often a good thing, because that means that it still has room to run. It's not on Binance, it's not on Coinbase. Look, it's not even on Kraken. It's not on many markets at all. So I think once this thing gets listings, obviously with the ETH narrative really picking up some steam towards June, I think that it could be potentially a very good play. And also they did have this partnership with A116Z. Obviously, they are an American private equity fund. So maybe this is an indicator, this partnership, a very important partnership, that my thesis is playing out on Lido. My thesis that it could become to ETH what Grayscale, MicroStrategy, and Terra are to Bitcoin. We're seeing that kind of present itself. Obviously, we'll see if this narrative plays out, but I think it is looking very strong. I think it'll be a good token long term, and it's one I'm very interested in accumulating. Guys, I'm seeing so many comments. Fantom. All you degens want to hear about is Fantom. So let's talk about Fantom, because it's actually one of the strongest performers at the moment, and we want to be looking at the moment what coins are outperforming the market. The coins that are rallying super strong now will give us an indicator into what potentially could be the strongest narratives throughout April 2022. And this Fantom Incentives Program that just launched is a very strong bullish catalyst for Fantom. So what they did is they launched a $480 million incentives program with Gitcoin grants. They scrapped their old program of $300 million. They added a little bit extra rewards on, but they changed the way that they're giving out incentives. So what they're doing now is they're letting the users decide on what allocations they want to give to specific projects, with greater Fantom matching rewards going to the projects that are most loved and supported by their users. I think this is a big change for the incentive program, because it will incentivize projects to build and focus on building community. And I think that's a major thing. We've already seen the Fantom community be one of the strongest in crypto, but this incentives program really exaggerates that. And I think it is a positive thing for Fantom as a whole. We also see that they're working on more support for gaming, NFT platforms, etc. One of the things that Fantom's really lacked in the past is obviously its exposure to gaming and NFTs. So I think that this new incentives program is really big news, and that's why we're seeing the Fantom price pumping at the moment. Show us that Fantom chart. Is it too late to get involved? Obviously, we did see the highs of 348 last year during the conference. It did drop down after the Andre FUD, which I think was a little bit unwarranted, to $1.03, but it's back up 60% to $1.60. So let's have a look at the Fantom chart, because I think that there could still be room to run here. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Fantom, and I think it's one of the best, most solid L1s in crypto.
Yeah, great, Miles. So the reason that I started on this chart is this is the RSI stochastic thrown on a weekly time frame, which is now, this is great for investors. This is telling you that long term, I'm sure this thing is going to fly. You have the stochastics, which have just turned up. And the reason why I wanted to start with that is something a little bit more on the bullish side, is because if we go down onto a daily, it is nearing resistance. But if you have a look, you've got your RSI stokes on the daily, which are reaching the top now. You have as well, this measures how overextended you are. Anytime that you're around 4 is signaling that the rally may be cooling. It's going to have to cool off soon. Otherwise, it can't continue on much longer like that. And you're going to meet that resistance level over here, which is your descending trend line. What I would expect is, this is still a big move, by the way. From there to there, you're looking at still another 10, 20% move, 10, 15% move. And I would expect a possible rejection off there. But because the weekly Stokes are just turning up, you should be able to make it through on the next run. You're establishing a new trend over here. So you got your lows, you got a high, you got your next high, and we're still missing that low. So we're going to be looking for that low is going to be something like this. And then I would expect it to crack on through. So yeah, something to pay attention to. Fantom long-term, I'm extremely bullish. I definitely think that it's just a matter of time before challenges those highs. It's, of course, the Andre FUD that put it into a bit of a downward spiral. So we just have to wait for the bees to move back.
Yeah, look, exactly that. I mean, the bees, they buzz around, they hop from L1 to L1, and there's always a narrative that's happening in crypto. Look, I know a lot of you guys, and myself included, bought Fantom quite high. When Fantom was $3.48, a lot of us were buying close to $3, and I did as well, and I lost money on those trades. But you guys have to remember to step back for a second and look at this long term. You know, it's one of the most fundamentally sound L1s. It has an amazing community, an amazing team of over 40 developers building the protocol. I'm not here to shill Fantom. I'm here to tell you guys that I think it's genuinely one of the best projects in crypto, and it has some of the strongest community in crypto as well. Long term, I'm expecting it to be much, much higher than that high of 348. I know it's tough when you buy in on the highs and a coin drops. I've been there many times before, but I do think that over the next few years, it could be one of the strongest performers. I have no doubt in my mind that that will be the case. So Fantom is definitely a good play, and it's a very solid project to hold in your portfolio. But the way to make money in Fantom isn't actually on Fantom. The way to make money on Fantom is in the ecosystem, because when these L1s rally, their ecosystem tokens usually can outperform the L1s, as they're typically smaller cap and they can really, really run. So I've got a little bit of alpha here to share with you guys on a project that I'm looking at. We have to be very secretive about this, though, because I'm not supposed to tell anyone. But I do have a bit of info from a little birdie that SpiritSwap may have a new update coming out within the next month. Now, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that, but within the next month, SpiritSwap, we know they're coming out with a V2. That is public information. That V2 is going to be... And I've actually had access to this. Thank you to the SpiritSwap team, which I was lucky enough to look at their V2 changes. I mean, it's going to be massive. They've got UI upgrades, which are going to rival SpookySwap in terms of its performance. And they've also kept their cards quite close to their chest. They haven't revealed many details about it, but I can tell you through looking through these documents that this V2 is going to be a game changer in my opinion. And honestly, I've been accumulating SpiritSwap over the last few weeks because I think it could be one that outperforms. And we see that the market knows something. We see the market knows something because today, if we look at these Fantom protocols, Spirit is leading the pack after solidly. So the market knows that Spirit could be a top performer. So yeah, what I will say is that V2 is coming out. I'm not allowed to share the date, but a little birdie told me it is coming very, very soon. So guys, that might be something you should be looking at. But there's also another play that I really like in the Fantom ecosystem as well. And that's obviously Liquid Driver. So if you don't know what Liquid Driver does, you basically can earn rewards from a number of Fantom projects. So you can stake Liquid Driver and earn rewards in Boo, earn rewards in Spirit, earn rewards in Beats. So you're basically getting an index fund style approach to investing in the Fantom ecosystem. So my hypothesis with Liquid Driver is that as Fantom continues to grow and Liquid Driver gains market share, then it will be one of the top performers because it has exposure to the entire Fantom ecosystem and it's one of the best protocols on Fantom because of that. Because you're getting exposure to the whole ecosystem through its rewards, and it has partnerships with basically every top Fantom project. It has a partnership with SpiritSwap. It has a partnership with Beats. It has a partnership with 100 Finance. So, I mean, Liquid Driver is very well connected, and it's one of my favorite projects for that reason. So if you don't own any, and I know it's pumped, but I think it is a token that you guys should be looking at accumulating. Because if Fantom explodes and does push up towards the $2 region, as Carl was showing you with that major 170 resistance, if Fantom breaks through that, then what do you think is going to run? It's going to be these altcoins, and Liquid Driver is definitely one of the ones to watch. So Carl, what are the charts saying for Liquid Driver right now?
Yeah, so let's have a look at SpiritSwap first before we go to Liquid Driver. So you can see as well with SpiritSwap, there's definitely some of that news that's been leaked. You know, what you're talking about, you can tell that the big guys are most likely already starting to accumulate, because this is exactly, I don't know when the news came out for you, but this is the 14th of March. And it looks like probably around the end of March is when things started to change for it. So you're trending down, making lows, and then boom, it started to change over there. You created your first higher high and a higher low, higher high, higher low, and so the trend continues. So usually you would like to see 3 of those touch points before you establish a proper trend. So currently we're right in that zone at the moment. So I think it's a great time to be getting into it. If you create your next higher high over here, I'd be looking for the next higher low to come anywhere in this region of 10 cents or so. So fantastic to have a look at that one. And then you wanted to have a look at Liquid Driver. Liquid Driver, let me just see what the history is on that one. Okay, it's 8 months. Let's have a look if I can pull that one up for you. So
sometimes these low caps don't have the best charting history. So let's see if this is a nice chart.
This one. So we'll have a look at it on the daily, as you mentioned, just because of the charting history. Okay, so oftentimes you can see at launch, straight dump down, reaccumulation, came back up, sold off. It's not doing too bad. I would say that it's kind of caught in a range over here. So you have a range. Let me just grab this tool. All right, you got your main range is going to be about there to about here, this region. Again, you've created your next higher high. So first, this is the end of the downtrend over here by this higher high. This could be your next higher low. With these ones that don't have as much charting history, I really recommend not to do leverage or anything like that. Maybe consider dollar cost averaging into it. So anytime that you come near these lows, just keep dollar cost averaging in. This is your range. Once you break that $15 region, it's going to absolutely fly. That's your main area to look at.
I'm seeing in the comments, people are very salty about Fantom. Guys, trust me, I lost money on some of these trades as well. But it long term, it is a great protocol. I can't lie, and it's definitely one we have to look at accumulating because it's dumped. And when things dump, that is when you want to step in and take advantage. Like if Fantom was $1.03, what an amazing entry! You'd already be up 6% if you got in after that dump. So look, I know it's tough whenever a protocol drops, but I wouldn't be sharing it with you guys if I didn't think it was one of the strongest projects fundamentally. Just on Liquid Driver for a second, if you guys do end up picking up some Liquid Driver, or maybe you already own some, then you want to be staking it in Growth DeFi because it will allow you to keep your liquid tokens liquid. So just like Lido Finance, where you can stake your Ethereum and be able to keep Ethereum as staked Ethereum, so it's a liquid Ethereum. You can do the same with Liquid Driver. So it's this Growth DeFi website. You come into LQDR under MOR, and you can stake. You can enable this mint, and you can mint LQDR and stake it for LQDR. So it's very simple. You want to come in, mint LQDR, and then you can get a liquid staking version where you can still earn the 76%, but then you're not locking up for 2 years like you would be on the Liquid Driver site. Let's talk about another narrative, though, because there is one narrative which is very, very, very strong at the moment, and it's probably one of the strongest in crypto, in my opinion. It's one of the reasons why the Polkadot price has absolutely exploded, and some of the ecosystem in DOT has exploded, and it's also the reason why the token itself has exploded. And I really want to talk about it because I think it is going to be one of the biggest narratives in crypto, especially for April, because it has just recently taken off. And this was off the back of this Ronin bridge hack. So we did see that hackers exploited the Ronin bridge for $625 million. It was the biggest DeFi hack in history. So what this did was it raised some concerns, and it basically proved Vitalik was right. You guys probably know that Vitalik came out and he said that, yes, multi-chain is the future. The future is going to comprise itself of multiple chains, but the future is not cross-chain. And Vitalik gave some evidence as to why he thinks the future is not cross-chain. And we did see his theory play out because there has been massive hacks time and time again in DeFi which exploit these bridges. So these bridges are pretty vulnerable. And that's the issue when you have multiple chains and you're trying to bridge between them. It does enable itself for hacks to happen. So we're much, much more vulnerable than we first realized. And there is one protocol, and there's actually a few interoperable blockchains, but there's one in particular which is really taking advantage of this, and that is Stargate. So Stargate is the perfect example of an interoperable blockchain because it's a native asset bridge, which means it can offer cross-chain pools. It's built on Cosmos. So Cosmos is essentially a layer 0, and it allows effortless interoperability between the Cosmos SDK, which was what it was built on, and blockchains and other blockchain protocols. So we can see the farms here. If we just zoom in a little bit, it's across multiple chains like Avalanche, Optimism, Arbitrum, Fantom, Matic. So what Stargate is doing, similar to Rune or ThorChain, is it's allowing you to be able to stake cross-chain and get involved in bridging cross-chain. But Stargate keeps liquidity in these pools. So when you're swapping between chains and you can actually transfer assets here, you can transfer between networks. So we can go between AVAX and between Fantom, but we're not exposing ourselves to these traditional bridges because it's staying within the Stargate ecosystem, within the Cosmos ecosystem, because it's interoperable. So Stargate is a place that I think could potentially be a really good one because this narrative here is going towards these protocols that are interoperable. So right now, the farming opportunities are amazing, over 20% on some of these farms, and you do earn the STG tokens, so the Stargate tokens, in return for staking. I mean, 21% on USDT is fantastic. That's even better than Anchor, and the liquidity is really high as well. So we're seeing some of these pools. I mean, $500 million. That is a massive, massive pool. This isn't a little pool by any stretch of the imagination. Stargate is really exploding. So let's have a look at the Stargate token, because obviously the more people that stake in Stargate, the more people that swap on the Stargate network, the more that the token will increase, because revenue is shared and distributed amongst Stargate holders. Now, obviously they are emitting tokens to stakers, so you have to look at the tokenomics and the emission schedule to ensure that you won't be losing out too much to emissions. However, the Stargate token has been exploding, so the market knows something, and the market does like this interoperable narrative that it's presenting after the hacks.
Yeah, so a difficult one to chart because if I'm not mistaken, we only have
2 weeks.
2 weeks, 14 days of history. However, if other traders are looking at this as a chart, I mean, this is essentially your trend. It looks like a great chart. I mean, it's in a straight uptrend. You're already pretty much right at all-time highs. If you wanted to snipe an entry, I would look at anywhere around like $3.58. Let's call it $3.60 to form your next higher low. So you got your first higher lows over here. That would be your next high low. You're creating your higher highs. And who knows, when these things go into price discovery and there's a lot of hype around them, I don't know where it's going to top out. I know that Run said that he guarantees he'll buy it under $2, but he could wait a while for that. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm excited for this one.
Rand did say that he wants to pick it up under $2. I think it's a very sound project fundamentally. It's one I want to accumulate. For sure. I mean, it is hard to buy into these highs. As you said, it's very hard to get data when a project launches 2 weeks ago. It's hard to get data, but I mean, it already has billions of dollars in liquidity, like a few $1 billion within its first week. That's like unheard of.
Yeah, the thing is, Miles, when there is a project like this that has a lot of hype, there are people that will be charting it. So this is your ultimate trend. I mean, you may as well just follow this. Be really greedy with your entries. You already got 1 touch, 2 touch, 3, 4. If you get the 5th one over here, great. Jump in, take it. Easy risk to reward. You just set your stop loss underneath.
And what amount's on that trend line?
This over here, that's $3.58.
Okay, so that could potentially be a good risk reward entry for you guys. I know Rand said he did want that pullback to $2, but definitely have this one on your watch list. I think Stargate could be massive with the narrative, and DOT's also pumping off the back of the narrative because we did see we are seeing these interoperable blockchains really pick up some steam here. So DOT, obviously Moonbeam, a lot of those protocols are also pumping, Moonriver as well. And I think all 3 of those are really good plays. I have said for a while, I think DOT is lagging the rest of the market. You can see here that Stargate isn't listed on many protocols at all.
Yeah,
right?
You see for Stargate, because it's on FTX and it's on Kucoin, you can set limit orders as well. Set those low bids. If it breaks that trend and it comes down quickly on a wick basis, you can pick a couple up. I'm sure that's probably what Run's already done.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely is one. I'm seeing a lot of comments about DOT. We'll give my thoughts on this quickly because I do think DOT has been slow for a while. If we go through CoinGecko, if I can get up the markets tab here, what has happened is DOT's kind of lagged behind in terms of some of these other L1s. So we saw Solana. DOT used to be top 5, if you're unaware. So we saw Solana go into the top 6. Cardano is now 9th, Avalanche 10th, but DOT's fallen into the 11th spot. I do think long-term, now this is a long-term bet. I don't think DOT will necessarily explode in the short term as it is a long-term play. I don't personally love the UI of DOT at the moment, but I do think that long-term, the ecosystem is looking really strong. And I think that if you believe in the DOT narrative, I think that it could be a great play long term. It wouldn't be my number one pick for April, just because I think there are the coins that can give you better rewards over the next couple months. But long term, DOT has been long term. DOT is one of my favorite plays because I think that it's a narrative I like. I know Ran, it's not his favorite project. I think he does like DOT, but I'm pretty bullish on it honestly. And Moonbeam I think is a great way to get exposure to the ecosystem. It's an L1 built underneath Polkadot as well. And Moonbeam, I mean, it did have that massive dump with all these VC unlocks, but long term, it's got to be one of my favorite projects in the DOT ecosystem. But yeah, wow, what a pump.
We can have a look at DOT here on my screen. I remember I charted it a while back, so we can see how that's going at the moment. If you just share onto my screen, Miles.
Sure. Moonbeam's definitely one that I'd look at, though. Obviously, you can't buy after a 53% pump, but fundamentally, it's very sound. I do like what they're doing. Their transactions have exploded, and we're seeing multiple protocols launch underneath it. So I think Moonbeam is going to be a good play, but you can't buy after 53%. I'm not the TA expert. Carl is here, but I'd probably say under $4, you'd want to be picking this thing up.
Yeah, Moonbeam after a 50% pump, I would definitely wait for a bit of a cool off. If we want, we can have a look at DOT if the viewers want to have a look at that.
Absolutely.
Great. So just very quickly, I think I drew this chart back here. I haven't looked at it since, but it seems to be holding everything really nicely. At the time, I was looking for at least 4 candle closes above before I went long, above this yellow line, because that was an ascending triangle as well. So you got your typical breakout. And it's just, again, tracking the higher highs and higher lows. So far, this one's looking fantastic. On a 4-hour chart, you might get an opportunity for a pullback. Let's just have a look. All right. I mean, you're coming up. Look at that. This one's been a beautiful one to trade, actually. So you had your golden cross way back here, and perfect, just higher highs and higher lows throughout. This is a little bit overextended. Let's consider from bottom to top. You had a 15% move, so there should be a little bit of a pullback. Anything that comes to this region of 22, you can pick some dots up, and then your next target is about $24.
I mean, price isn't necessarily the only thing to look at as well. We've got to look at the market caps, and it can still really run comparatively to some of these other cryptos. DOT obviously has that market cap coming in at $23 billion. We see now Solana 32. I know AVAX is like 60 fully diluted now. So DOT is still comparatively undervalued compared to those chains. And Moonbeam as well. I mentioned Moonbeam before, but Moonbeam has a market cap of $1 billion. I mean, $1 billion for an L1 is not much at all. So I think that it already has a few $1 billion in TVL. I mean, a market cap of $1 billion is not crazy at all. So I think that Moonbeam could be a good play long term if you want to capitalize on the DOT ecosystem as well. I do have another 2 narratives I want to talk to you guys about. I mean, we're just jam-packing this video with alpha, so make sure you smash the like button for the alpha right now. And obviously we've got Kyle and my Twitters in the description. If you want to see more content like this in the future, we might just have to come back for more streams in the future. But there are a couple of things I want to talk about. So the first thing that I wanted to mention are these new farms on veJOE. So if you guys recall, on my show this week, I talked about Trader Joe potentially being an amazing play, and I walked you through step-by-step how to stake Joe for veJOE to earn these rewards. Well, at the time, all you could really earn was Joe in these AVAX USDC pools, in the AVAX Ethereum pool. Now you can earn Joe in these boosted pools for stablecoins. So USDT, USDC, AVAX BNB as well. So we've now got these stable pools which you can earn earn yield on, and you can boost it if you own veJOE. So this is really cool because now we can boost our stablecoin yields on JOE. So it's going to further incentivize people to hold the JOE token. And that was really my thesis and my thinking behind veJOE, was that as more pools come out and more pools are incentivized, JOE will attract more liquidity, and thus the token price could increase as more people lock up their JOE to accumulate veJOE. So if you do have JOE or you're looking at accumulating some JOE, staking is very simple. You just come into this staking tab here. It's under the Trader Joe website. Scroll down to veJOE. If you click on veJOE here, then you can stake your JOE. You just deposit it in this pool. And what you will start doing is start accruing veJOE. So if you stake your JOE, you accrue veJOE. And the more veJOE you accrue, the more boost you get on these farms. So for the next 14 days, you'll be getting a 2x on veJOE. So there's 14 days left, and you get double rewards if you stake your JOE for veJOE. And then you can come into the farm tab once you have some veJOE, click on the boost tab here, and then all these boosted farms will be the farms that you can boost using your veJOE rewards. And we see that we've now got stable pools. The farm APRs are 6.5%. But if you add your veJOE boost on top of that, you can conservatively be expecting over 20, 30, 40%. In the first week, we even saw these AVAX pools at 200-300%. So definitely JOE is a good token to start accumulating. And it's one I've got my eye on. I was buying at 80 cents. I told you guys that I think it's going to explode. And I mean, it did explode. It was one of those coins that just absolutely ripped along with the AVAX price as well.
Awesome. Looks great. Oh, you're back on my chart over here. I guess I can finish off with one more chart over here, which is going to be the Bitcoin chart. So what I would expect to happen is I'm thinking that we're definitely going to make it through this 52K level. I'm hoping that we smash through that. I think we could track up quite quickly to the 0.618. So the way I'm personally going to play it is at the moment, I'm very much more risk on looking for altcoin plays, at least for the time being. Once we cross this 51, 52K level where there's a major area of resistance, I would expect us to move very, very quickly into that $55,000 level. And this is where I would be careful. I would expect that the leverage is going to be near all-time high. Typically what happens when the leverage is at all-time high, around 16 billion or so, every single time that unravels, we go down at least 20%, 20, 30% at times. So, I mean, from these levels, you're going to be looking at a move from there. Assuming it comes in over there, you could come all the way back down to about $43,000. And then hopefully on a macro scale, that's where we set in our next higher low. And then, just continue on with the bull run, hoping that we break the all-time high sometime this year.
The people want Rune. Everyone wants Rune, Rune. Guys, Rune, what a play that's been. If you were buying Rune at $4, that would have absolutely been an amazing play at almost a 3x. I did a video 2 weeks ago on Rune and why I think it could explode, and it did explode. It went to $12, which is insane. If you guys don't know, for every dollar deposited into Rune, so as Rune gets more liquidity into its ecosystem, the market cap increases by $3. So if $5 billion was deposited in Rune over the next couple of years, the market cap would increase by $15 billion. That's because Rune needs to keep a one-to-one pair with all its assets to enable cross-chain swaps. So if you deposit $100 worth of Bitcoin, Rune needs to pair that with $100 worth of Rune. And that's how it can offer the cross-chain swaps. So the Rune price has exploded off the back of that, as the TVL of Rune has absolutely exploded. I think it 3x'd in a matter of a month or so. So that's why we saw this explosion in the price, because obviously the 3-to-1 mechanism means that the Rune market cap does explode when liquidity increases. What do you think about this Rune chart now? Would you be buying? And if you are interested in buying, what level would you be looking at?
This looks fantastic. I mean, this is a phenomenal uptrend over here. So you had your golden cross already way back at about $5. So if you held that, you would have, in a very short time frame, when did that happen? That was on the 10th of March. So 3 weeks, you would have already doubled your money. At the end of the day, all you need to do, guys, it's very, very simple. It's trend first, horizontal second, and third. I would look at diagonals and moving averages. At the moment, you got everything going for you. If you're in this project, you got your higher highs and higher lows. And I would just essentially keep following this. This is your level to watch. Let me just zoom in so everyone can see nicely. So you could enter into this for sure, as long as you're holding above this level over here. So let's put that in. you don't want to see any closes underneath that level, which is at about $11.35. I would imagine there's a real possibility that this will be your next higher low, and the level to take out is $12.80. So it's pretty much in the zone. It's a tradable option over here. You still got your higher highs. We just need to see what happens over here in case this starts to change the trend. If this is a high, a lower high, and then another lower high, that's why I say you really got to watch this level. So the closer you can get to here, the better your risk to reward on entering.
For sure. I think that as it comes down, it could be it will be a very good buy, because Rune fundamentally is one of the strongest projects. I just wanted to say, guys, I'm going to Miami next week. I'm going to be at the Bitcoin conference in Miami. So if you're coming, feel free to say hi. I think that's going to be awesome. And MEXC is actually going to be, we're going to be doing a show with MEXC. They're going to be sponsoring the show while I'm over there. And we're going to be running a giveaway, a very, very big giveaway. So I'm going to announce that giveaway on Monday. Make sure you tune into these shows, because next week we're going to be giving away quite a lot of money to you guys in partnership with MEXC. So they're a great exchange. They have multiple coins. They've got some of the deepest amount of projects on the platform. And obviously you can sign up if you're an American. So I'll be announcing that giveaway next week. Do keep your eyes on that, because I think that is going to be huge as well. There's so much to talk about in this market. So we are going live tomorrow because I know a lot of you guys are saying that you want to get some updates on these gaming coins, etc. So actually what I might do is go live on Twitter right now. Yeah, let's do that. Let's continue the video on my Twitter. So after this video, you guys can check into my Twitter and I'll answer any questions that you guys have, because I know you guys want answers on some of these other coins. So as soon as this ends, I'll head over to Twitter. I'll do a Twitter live over there after this stream. And yeah, thank you so much, Kyle. Amazing info from you today. I think everyone should go and follow Kyle on Twitter at Kyle Doops. Link in the description. Because his charting's been amazing, and I really enjoyed doing the show with Kyle.
Yeah, awesome. I think we need to do it again.
I think we need to do it again, guys. If you want to see a show again, smash the like button. I think it could be really, really good. Thank you guys for watching. Smash the like if you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in 1 minute on my Twitter. Peace out.